order at this time. I want to say good morning and welcome everybody. Glad that you're joining us. I would also remind you again to please silence any electronic devices so we can avoid disruptions during our meeting. Mr. Wheeler will be leading us in our invocation this morning. Mr. Muniz will be leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Renee Clayton, Principal at Celebration K-8, will be reading our mission statement, and Dahlia will be coming to provide translation services. I'd ask if you please stand at this time for our invocation and our pledge. Mr. Wheeler.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us this beautiful day in this beautiful county, in this beautiful state, in this beautiful country. Thank you for all the blessings you give us. Give us the wisdom to do things that are in your favor to help the students in this community and the community at large. Please remember our troops that are fighting in far-off lands to make our country safer. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. This time, Ms. Clayton for our mission statement.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our mission statement for Osceola County Schools is education which inspires all to their highest potential.
Thank you, ma'am, and good morning to you. Dahlia?
My name is Dalia Medina. I'm here to provide translation services. Mi nombre es Dalia Medina. Estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you as always, Dahlia. Board, we'll try to move quickly through positive comments so we can move through our agenda quickly and get everybody back into our workplaces. Mr. Wheeler, I'll come to you if you have something you want to throw out.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. This past weekend, there was a high school basketball tournament hosted by Stetson, and I want to recognize Liberty High School, Osceola High School, St. Cloud High School, and Celebration High School for participating out there. The coaches did a real fine job getting all their players, all the parents, everybody herded and organized, and each one of our teams ended up playing 6 games. Very exciting. One of the gyms was a gym that was not air conditioned, so it was a unique experience for the players and for the parents. But I really want to just recognize those teams for their hard work and the coaches for all they do for their kids over the summer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Soto?
Oh, I have nothing.
Thank you. Mr. Thacker?
Very briefly, just going to congratulate Melba on the arts superintendent of the year. Very proud of you. Very proud of our district for having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent, I'll come to you.
Yes, just 2 things. One of them was we had a celebration for our retirees and those who had 25 years of service in our district, and it was just amazing. There were a lot of happy people there, especially those retiring, I can tell you that much. The other thing is that this past weekend, Risk Management organized through their wellness program, a girls' getaway program. And there were 150 women over at Embassy Suites, and these people were just having an amazing time. So I just wanted to thank Risk Management for putting that together. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And just briefly, I'll add, the celebration was great for the retirees and the 25-year employees, and then also just a thank you to all of our teachers, administrators, and staff throughout this district for your hard work throughout the year. And my sincere hope is that those that are not working during the summer enjoy every moment of the relaxation, and those that are continue to keep your head down and just plod along and make sure that we set ourselves up for a great 2016. So with that, board, we will move into presentations. We have none. Superintendent appointments and transfers.
There are a few.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to start with transfers, okay? Henry Santiago will be transferring from Westside to the assistant principal at Parkway Middle School. Shaquila Henderson will be transferring from Discovery Intermediate to assistant principal at Westside, K-8. Kim Mannion will be transferring from Poinciana High School to assistant principal at Celebration K-8. And Suhaili Dolan will be transferring from Liberty High School to assistant principal at Poinciana High School. So I just wanted everyone to know that. And now we're talking about new administrative appointments. I will start with Renee Clayton. Renee will be principal on assignment, who will be responsible for guiding principals at schools that are looking for some higher achievement. She will be implementing and monitoring school improvement process and our SACS accreditation, which will happen in another 1.5 years. and will be working with a multi-tiered system of support process. I am looking for approval on Renee Clayton as principal on assignment.
Thank you, Board. What is your pleasure
Motion
on
to
that
approve
item?
as submitted.
Thank you. There is a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Thacker. Any discussion, Board?
I know that Renee will do a terrific job. She's a great educational leader.
Great, thank you. Board, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. Congratulations, Renee. Renee, I think you have some people with you. Am I correct or no?
It might be a little confusing.
Okay.
This is my assistant principal at Celebration K-8 and his family.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Superintendent?
And the reason why it seems a little confusing is because now we have Michael Ballone, and I'm recommending him for principal at Celebration K-8. And I want to tell you a little bit about Michael. Michael has been a teacher in Panama Beach and also a teacher at Celebration High and assistant principal at Celebration K-8. And Michael received his degree in social science education from Florida State University and his master's degree in educational leadership from Stetson University. Looking for approval, Michael Ballone as principal at Celebration K-8.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Thank you. I do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Thacker. Any discussion on this item?
Mike, I've seen you grow, and I know you'll do a terrific job, and we're looking forward to it. Just make sure you take time, spend enough time with your family also.
Amen. Well said. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion does carry 4-0. Congratulations to you as well. And why don't you officially introduce the cutie sitting next to you? I'm talking about on your left, by the way.
Good.
This is my 2.5-year-old Brady, and in about 3.5 weeks we have another boy in the legs.
Great. Congratulations.
Congratulations. The next one is Sandy Davenport for assistant principal at Den John Middle School. Sandy has worked as a teacher in Polk County. She has worked here at Den John, Mill Creek, Narcoossee. She's been a learning resource specialist at Narcoossee, a dean, a literacy coach at Narcoossee Middle School, and currently she is the school improvement coordinator. She received her bachelor's degree of education at Southeastern University and her master's degree in ed leadership from American College of Education. I'm looking for approval for Sandy Davenport as assistant principal at Den John Middle School.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Thank you. I do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Soto. Any discussion, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. And congratulations.
Congratulations. Sandy, you want to stand up and who's there for you?
all my work family.
And finally, Sean Tucker, who could not be here today, for Director of Transportation. Sean Tucker actually started here in Osceola County many years ago, 1998, and then he was Director of Transportation at Salt Lake City and Indian Rivers. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the Florida Metropolitan University, and I'm looking for approval for Sean Tucker as Director of
Motion
Transportation.
to approve is submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mrs. Wheeler. You guys are taking turns now, huh? Motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Thacker. Any discussion, Board? All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. And congratulations.
Sorry, I'm a little excited about that one.
That's all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations to everyone.
Absolutely. This is a public meeting, so if anyone from the public wishes to speak, we'd welcome you to do so at this time. Okay, we'll close that portion of our meeting and move along. Agenda modifications, Board. Do know that the one item under information items is being pulled under Charter Schools Curriculum Strategies, so we would not be dealing with that item today. I'll go from my left to right. Mr. Wheeler, do you have any modifications?
Good to go.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. I do not either. Mr.
Number
Thacker?
2, under the curriculum instruction consent, I'd like to pull, just have a question.
Okay.
Two, you mean B?
Approval of contract with Solution Tree, under the consent.
Oh, consent, oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, Superintendent, anything additional for you?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, Board, so we'll be pulling number 2 under curriculum instruction out of consent for discussion, and we are not dealing with the charter school piece, so at this point, I would accept a motion.
Move for approval with those changes, removal of 2 and 3.
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Mr. Wheeler. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. Mr. Thacker, I'm going to come to you on that number 2.
Just had a question on, for the $87,000 and 350 attendees for 2 days, seemed a little pricey. Can you just give me, make me feel better why this is a great idea?
Yeah, sure. Professional learning communities, we continue to strengthen collaborative work efforts. It's an initiative that has been part of the district for about 5 years now. This year we've really gained a lot of traction out in our schools. Typically, what we do during the summer, it's not a hybrid event. Typically, we send teachers, teams of teachers, to an event. It's normally held in Orlando. So convenient to us, we would send, so normally we would spend about double the amount that we're spending this year.
Okay.
Because the event is not in Orlando this year, the event is being held at the Tampa Convention Center. So that would increase the price for travel and for hotel accommodations. So the 3 of us, Dr. Brizendine, Dr. Akes and I, look to bring the event here, both with 2 consultants from Solution Tree, and also we'll be live streaming an event that is happening in Lincolnshire, Illinois.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just,
It was a good question.
No, no problem at all.
and I'll move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Thacker, thank you for your questions on that item sincerely. Any other discussion, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. Board, that brings us down to our regular agenda items under curriculum instruction. What's your pleasure on those items?
Motion to approve items A and B as submitted under Roman numeral 6.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Soto on those items. Board, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. Board, that brings us to human resources.
Approval of item C.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. There's a
Sorry.
motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of item C, letter C, under human resources. Board, any discussion on that item? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 4-0. Community relations. Dana, yeah, I'm gonna say you're probably gonna come up on this one.
I'm back today to discuss thoughts and ideas for a new district logo per the board's request. From our last meeting, we received clear direction that the board wanted to focus on a clean, simple logo that focuses on the task at hand, which is certainly educating students. We had folks go back to the drawing board again, and we have sample designs. I emailed them to everybody yesterday. And they all have very, very different looks. Again, not exactly sure what you're looking for, so it kind of runs the gamut. So I think I'm just going to turn it over to you guys for a discussion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Number 6.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
There's several pages.
Oh, I didn't.
Dana,
Yes, sir.
what is the, I like number 28 because it looks like the Cowboys, but that's a whole nother.
I do need to mention that colors.
I second that.
Okay, I do need to mention that colors can change.
Since Mr. Booth isn't here, we should just.
Colors can definitely change. We're looking for design, and I do want input on colors if you do pick something. But keep that in mind, any color can change.
Yeah, and pink and
Sure.
purple isn't gonna work, Mr.
Do we have any kind of traditional school color or district colors? Do we?
We typically just go with, with our Chief Osceola logo colors that would complement that. Certainly if we go to a new logo, we can design whatever we want.
So Dana, my question was going to be, what is the, so I've gone through this process with companies and organizations that I either own or a part of, and there's a back and forth and ebb and flow. This is the kind of style that we're looking for, and then they tweak and modify. But what is the process that we're looking for here? Because I know that time is somewhat of the essence.
It
because
is.
of all the other components, what we're working on with our branding and remarketing and all that. How do we envision this going? Is it like we all agree and this is what it is? Or we all agree this is a general style and they're going to do some additional mock-ups, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on really what design, and you need to kind of narrow down. I hope today we're narrowing down a look and a design. I need you to tell me what you like and don't like about it, but if we could narrow down something, that certainly helps. It depends on who created the graphic, but we do have some time to pick different colors. If you don't like a certain part of it, you want to try, different font or whatever, we do have some leeway. Ruben created a lot of them, which is in-house, and so that certainly helps and gives us a little bit more time. Some other design graphic folks did some, and we can certainly have them work on revisions. So we have some.
Can you tell me which ones he designed so I don't hurt his feelings when I don't? No, I'm kidding. I'm
Ruben
kidding.
did the best ones.
Of course.
The next one?
That's, I don't like the A+.
Okay.
Right, I don't either.
Hmm? Yeah.
What about 22? Mark likes 22.
No.
No, okay.
Well, that's my opinion. Sorry, Mark, but
I do want to mention
no
that,
for any of those. Osceola's not even spelled right.
where?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Never mind. Oh, you're good.
I like 6 and
Looked
7.
weird, didn't it?
I do want to mention, and just to give a credit, we did go out to a art teacher, like Mr. Wheeler has suggested, and this is the next one. They hand drew them. So those are hand-drawn from an art teacher. This art teacher, I do want to mention, did a focus group with some of her art students that she's working on, and it's a high school, just to get some feedback from students, and they all did agree that it was time for a logo change. They did not feel like the chief represents and kind of embodies what we do as a school district. So that was nice to hear from a student perspective of they are kind of on board and thought we needed a logo that was more reflected education. So I did just want to mention that's what an art teacher came up with.
Board, just a comment I want to make about logo and branding. In the past, at least in the past week, but mostly in the past, let's say 5 days, I've researched what branding and what logo does for a company. It's a little different with a public entity, but the concept is there's some concepts that still remain the same. A logo does a lot for the identity of an organization. As a matter of fact, from my research, so much time and money and effort goes into creating logos that we're very, very familiar with. The Golden Arches, the BP logo, for example, as simple as it seems, that was a project that was over $1 million. With focus groups, with understanding the geometry. There's a lot of things to it. I think, and you're a businessman, I think you understand a lot of what I'm saying. But I didn't. I actually researched it. Now, I'm not saying that that's something similar to a school district would do, by all means, but the idea that a logo, it's a reflection, it reflects so deeply upon an organization, at least to me, means that we have to take a lot of care, probably take an approach that will ensure that we're not making, we're not sending the wrong subliminal message. We're not sending, we're reflecting well. We have a vision to the future. It meets, in many ways, the goal works to advance the goals of the school district and the goals of the county, in part. And that said, I just don't know whether that process really happened here. It looks like there's a lot of good ideas, but on reflection, I'll tell you right now, when I think of it that way, I like the chief. When I think about, something can look better, maybe in our web pages, then it's a different analysis. But if I take the analysis that the logo needs you know, it really signifies that much. It's not just something that we just couldn't put up. It's really a reflection of the heart and soul of the district and part of the county. None of these really inspired that. A lot of them I liked. I liked them. I said, oh wow, this looks cool. I could see how it looks in a web page, how it looks on a shirt, how it would look on a card. But does it reflect, really, the school district, the goals, the strategic goals? Does it reflect the county, how it's changed over the past 30, 40 years? I'm not quite sure. So that would be my analysis on the logo. If we were just gonna go with what's gonna look pretty, I think that we have some very good submissions here. But it's up to you, board, I mean, how much you wanna go into it. In terms of money and cost, analyzing, you know, a logo and pushing towards a design that really reflects deeply what this district is about, what this county is about, it's just more of time than anything. But time is, from what I understand, time is what we don't have here. And so it looks as though we're rushing into something that doesn't really match up with those, you know, with those criteria that normally goes into logo design and logo adaptation. That's what I wanted to share with you. I couldn't do it in any other form than this one.
Okay. Dana, would you flip over one page for me? All right, so Mr. Soto, I hear with what you're saying. That's part of why I was asking the question about process and refinement and how we're going to go through this. But I do recognize at the same time, Dana, that you're looking for some general direction from the board. So I'm just going to offer up some of my opinions. Number 12 is one that I'm somewhat leaning towards. And then if you, I'm sorry, I should have had you stay on that first page because there was one on there I liked as well. I still do like number 2 as a thought, but it's not necessarily where I'd want it to be. Number 3, part of what bore when I was kind of thinking through this process, number 3 isn't the one for me, but the idea that the entire K-12 system is leading towards that graduation component. All along I had, is there a way to incorporate a cap or gown, or a cap in this case? So 3 at least gets somewhere in that general direction for me. And then Dana, if you would just flip through the last, I'll just give you no and no. Those are, so I guess those 2 would be the ones, or 3 I guess would be the ones, if any, that would stand out to me. And out of all of them, I think the one I said was 12, was it 12 or 15?
12,
Yeah.
it was 12.
2, 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah, 12 would probably be my favorite out of all of them thus far.
I can do the same thing if that would be helpful.
That would be great.
Go back, let's go back to page 1. Sorry, Dana. I actually kind of like the way 4 and 5, where Osceola stands out. I kind of like 6, just kind of the feel of the big O, but they need to get Osceola County School District in there, right? But that's not a big deal. I like, similar to what Tim was saying, I like the emphasis on the graduation. But go to the next page. I kind of like 13 and 15, but I swear when I look at it, it's hard to read. It looks like Osceola. It doesn't, but I kind of like, which kind of takes me back to where to Tim on the number 12 is it a little easier to read, but I guess I kind of like the linear as opposed to the stacked version. And I don't know why, but when I look at 16 and 17, every one of those looks like Osceola spelled wrong.
Yeah, it's just when I glanced
I don't
at
know
it.
what it is about the font or something.
17 looks like it's spelled wrong?
It just, all 3 of those, they just look funny when I look at them. I don't know why they look funny, but, yeah.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's the font. Next, the next page, and next page. Those are kind of the ones, that's just kind of my feelings around them.
Thank you.
A lot of them are good, I mean, not a whole lot that are bad. I think I'm kind of like Calvin a little bit, though. There's nothing that, and I'm certainly not a logo designer, so no.
I need to hear what you don't like, I guess. So right now, I'm a little unclear as to
Dana,
how do you want us to move forward?
I don't know.
Dana, can we get Jay's
Sure.
picks as well first before we ask that question?
I like 6, 17, and 29, but I'll tell you, I mean, board, and first off, Dana, I appreciate all the effort that's gone into this, and the focus that you've had on this. But I'll say this, board, I mean, I'm not really losing sleep over this one way or the other, and we've got much bigger issues to deal with at present, so, but again, anything that we do is fine, but those are the 3 that I like.
Would you say 16, 17?
6, 17, and I think it was, I think
29.
29, yeah. Those are the ones I liked. I don't, and Clarence, I don't understand how you think that 16, 17, and 18 look like they're spelled wrong.
It's the appearance of it. I know it's.
I mean, for
I know
me,
it's spelled right, Jeff.
for me, I know, 13, 10, 13, 14, and 15 to me look like they're spelled wrong.
Right. I don't know what it is.
But I realize they're not, the O is being creative, so that's,
May we go on to Kelvin and see if you have any that you,
None.
Yeah, I would reject changing the logo unless
Okay.
we took a better approach
All
to
right.
it. Not anything against what Dana's effort. I think that the guidance needs to be different. We may even need to spend money on a consultant and do this right, in my opinion. So, because we not really want to go that route at this point, I could recommend that we don't make the change. I don't know that would.
before we spend money on a consultant for this, I'd like to first find a way to give teachers raises if I'm gonna spend money on something, to be honest with you.
Well-
Which is not to suggest that maybe we don't need a consultant, but I'd much rather give a teacher raises than spending money on this.
But Jay, my opinion is that, from my research, this is so important that it has to be done in a way that it's gonna cost money. And maybe this is not the right time for it, or the time is not allowed, we don't have the time for it. I think that I'll put it on the record, I think the investment on it is well worth it. But the time doesn't allow us to do it that way. Therefore, I would not recommend a change at this time.
okay?
Okay. Couple of quick things, if I may. First of all, Mr. Booth isn't here, and this was an important component for Mr. Booth. I think that's important to note. Dana, because you're still needing, I think, better direction from us. Obviously, if we do nothing, that is what it is. If we left it where it is right now, does this give you any direction to work with or not?
No.
Okay. That's what I was gathering, and that's why I'm asking.
I haven't put a lot of thought into it.
Okay. Dana, what is where I'm leaning is that we just don't do anything at this point. I think we need to allow Mr. Booth to weigh in on this conversation. This was an important piece for him. I think out of respect for him, it'd be the right thing to do before and we don't have to, but I think it would just be a courtesy to one of our board members to say, let's let him weigh in on the conversation before we say completely nothing or let's go in this direction. My question, though, is how does that impact you?
I'm going to move forward with the website with our current logo.
Right.
I need to. I can't wait. And
Yep.
if so, then the whole frame of the website's based on whether we have an up and down logo, a vertical logo. I'm moving forward. Hearing on what you're saying, if that's okay, I'm going to move forward with what we have.
Yeah, I think it's what we have to do at this point.
Okay. So, do you want me to bring something back, or are we leaving this alone, or?
I think why don't we do this? Is my thought is I think why don't we just put it on unfinished business for the next agenda item?
Okay.
Or the next agenda for our meeting. Allow Mr. Booth to weigh in on it so that he can say whether he agrees with some of the comments that are going on here or not. If there's any discussion that needs to take place with the board, it may just be that it's not going to happen right now. Mr. Booth may come in and convince everyone differently.
Okay.
But I think that's probably the best thing that we can do right now. Melba, you want to speak on this as well?
I just was wondering, can you go back to number 6 for a second? Okay, because I just wanted to mention that when I was calculating here, number 6 and number 12 were the two that seemed most interested, that you seem most interested in. Do you want her to take those two and maybe tweak them a little? Or just leave it alone and not work on it at all?
Well, I think 6 and 12 were only the ones I was interested in.
No, someone else.
No, Jay was 6. 6 was not a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of an okay.
Go back to 6.
12 was kind of, let me just throw something out. I feel pretty grossly inadequate to even weigh in very much on this.
I'm with you.
And I'm wondering if we want to continue to, and maybe we need to wait till Mr. Booth's back, but if we want to continue, if there's somebody on the board who happens to not be here, or somebody else that wants to kind of take it and get maybe some of the art directors, or we've got a marketing person working on some stuff for Tico, or get a little group that's a little more creative to help and kind of,
Well,
I mean, if I saw something I really liked, it'd be easy to say, wow, that's it. But for me to sit here and give you a suggestion is a waste
you
of
bring up a
everybody's
good
time.
point. I think that, and Clarence brings up a great point. I bet you that I could make a contact with, Gaylord Palms has an entire marketing department, and I'm sure that they would be more than happy to lend some of their expertise as, you know, a pro bono to the district, just because they're great community partners. I know the GM real well there. I know the PR department there real well. And do you know Jody over there? Jody has PR. Okay, I can probably help you connect those dots, and just I'm sure they'd be willing to take a look at it for us. So I'll make that call, and I'll connect you, and let's see where it does or doesn't go relative to Clarence's point. I mean, those guys do this stuff for a living. We don't.
All right, so Dana, I think that's
Thank you,
where
Dana.
we'll go. There's something that I think is important to note though as well. I had someone in the community just ask me a question. It wasn't a criticism, but a question. And I want to make sure everyone knows that the board at no point has ever talked about expending money on this or going through and completely redoing all of our vehicles and all of our letterhead and all those things. The conversation has only been about a phase out. Not necessarily going in and saying, okay, there's a new logo design and now we're going to trash everything we have and reprint or redesign. So I think that's an important piece. I don't want anybody getting the wrong perception that this board is any bit interested at this point in time of having any waste or duplication of anything. Exactly. Oh, I agree 100%, but I want to make sure that's clear from this dais.
That has been clear. I think that what my comments were is that, you know, logo implementation, it's a very serious thing. It should be given the proper resources. That's how important it is. And right now, it just may not be the time for us, but when we're ready to do it, absolutely, and spend the money to make it done right, and the time so that it can be something that will last and reflect properly. I just don't think that this is the right time for it.
Does anyone know how long we've had this one? Is this original?
I don't know how long. Dana, do you know? I mean, it's so many years, I have no idea.
How long this lasted?
I don't know.
I've been here almost 30 years, this is all I know.
No, I think so, but I can't remember.
It's been 100 years.
That's right.
I think it was when I was in school, but that was only 8 years ago, so that's a long.
He was
Okay.
younger. He looked younger in the picture when I was in school.
He did. The chief has aged well, but, so we're gonna move on. Superintendent, any recommendations?
No, sir.
Mr. Brown, anything from you? No, sir. Superintendent update?
Yes, just one thing, board, remember I spoke with you in regards to possibly having some kind of data from the Department of Education by June 8th. I want to inform you that we have received nothing from the Department of Education.
But it's 100% of nothing.
That's correct, Jay.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, board, there is no unfinished business. There was nothing under new, but I'll come to Mr. Wheeler for board member comment.
Only because we're in special session right now, and nobody may know anything. Have we heard anything from the state regarding the budget? Forget about anything else. I realize that, have we heard anything?
No.
That's
No.
discouraging. Okay, thank you.
Well,
That's all.
I talked to Mike yesterday, Horner, and he's actually on his way back up. And what they have done is moved our capital request is based on Einsnagel to the, under PICO, where they feel they got a better shot to get it in.
Right.
And that committee is meeting today, I believe, and Mike was actually on his way up there. I called him about something else.
Well, on the way in, I was listening to the news, and supposedly the Senate and the House, State House, are again at loggerheads about the way to proceed. And
that's why they were, that part of the purpose of moving there, was my understanding, was because of that, and it might make a smoother slide on the Senate side.
Okay,
Thank you.
Clarence.
Mr. Soto, anything from you? No? Mr. Thacker, you good? Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. We'll adjourn at this time.
Thank you all.